Welcome, guys, to this new episodes of our series of podcasts. Today, with us, we have a really special person, more than person, a friend, I would say, but a really great businessman. Matteo with us is a serial entrepreneur, serial investor, and he teaches entrepreneurship in university. So the best person to tell us more about entrepreneurship. Welcome, Matteo. Welcome to our podcast. It's an honor and a pleasure to have you here. Was my introduction enough, or maybe you want to add something?
No, I think you've been too generous. Thank you so much. I'm very happy and honored to be here today.
Amazing. Can you tell us a bit more about your story, where you're from? What are you doing here in Dubai?
Yeah, so I still don't really exactly know what I'm doing in Dubai, so I will start with my story. I'm from Switzerland. My name is Matteo Boffa. I used to be a very, very boring Swiss banker. My family, they are banker in Switzerland since many, many years. And I was not a very good student. And when it was the time to decide at 14 years old what to do in my life, my family told me that my chances to succeed in university would have been very, very little. So they gently pushed me through the profession, apprenticeship in the bank. Again, I was not a very good employee in the bank, but I went through the diploma. So I did 3 years there. I worked for the same bank for the next 6 years. In the meantime, I did 2 years in the Swiss Army, which is still mandatory in Switzerland. I went to New York first to learn English, and I came back, unfortunately, divorced after 3 months after the wedding, lost my mom at the same time, and for that reason I decided to change air and open a new door, and Dubai appeared to me like an oasis of opportunity in the desert.
You have been living in Dubai quite long now at this point.
Yeah, so it's from 2016, so 8 years now.
Okay, so maybe let's talk about Dubai more. I mean, when me and you arrived, it was years ago. Dubai was not probably the same Dubai it is today. You know, less people. A lot of, I hear other podcasts of people who joined Dubai 2-3 years ago, and they were Dubai was different. It was not that different. I remember my personal opinion when I arrived. There were a lot of Italian, Swiss people. Maybe they were not in the digital space as today, but oil and gas or restaurants. There were already a lot of people here. So nothing really changed. Maybe there are more, but still, you cannot say that years ago there was nobody from Switzerland. But tell us more maybe about why you came here, why did you decide Dubai, and what do you still think about it?
So yeah, as I mentioned, the reason was probably more negative than positive. Loss of mom, and as well the wedding that went south after a few months. So that was, a lot of people tell me, oh, Matteo, you were very brave to move from Switzerland, nice country, to Dubai, into the unknown. But I have to be honest, for me, it was not really an act of bravery. It was an act of need. So I really had to leave my country, my surrounding, my environment, and jump in something totally unknown. So my expectation where I just moved to a place where I don't know anybody and I have to restart from zero. So that for me was not, as I said, bravery, but really a need to change. Yeah.
And since you're Swiss and you have lived in Switzerland many years, in Italy, a lot of people look at Switzerland as the dream. So probably they see this podcast and they think, wait a minute, this guy left the place we want to live in, our dream place, to move to Dubai. What do you think? Which are the differences between Dubai and Switzerland? And why do you suggest Dubai, or why do you suggest Switzerland? Because like in my personal opinion, I can suggest Italy for some reasons and Dubai for others. So maybe tell us more about your experience about this.
Yeah, for sure. I have to say I'm extremely patriotic. My alpha arm is tattooed with symbol of Switzerland, mountains, chocolate, cheese, and I'm very proud to be Swiss. I have to say it's one of the most beautiful country I ever been and lived and visited. But for the type of work and for my vision and mission in life is extremely slow, and it can be sometimes a bit boring. Very safe, but for entrepreneur, it's probably not the right place at the moment. Now, Switzerland can give a lot of opportunities. I see myself going back one day, but at this stage, for me, Dubai is not the final destination. It's a safe port where I can grow professionally and personally. So again, Switzerland is great, but Dubai in this stage of my life is the right
So why
place.
would you suggest Switzerland and why would you suggest Dubai? If you have in front of you a person, why you would suggest go to Switzerland? Why would you suggest go to Dubai based on the person you have in front?
Depending his career, if he's a diplomat or he works for NGOs or he's a banker or work for a multinational company, probably Switzerland will be the better place to be. If you are an entrepreneur, young, and you want to do something more dynamic and risk a little bit more, probably Dubai is the right place. So it's depending on the age as well that you are. If you have kids, 2-3 kids moving into the unknown, where the cost of living it's very high in both countries, but Dubai for schooling, for example, is extremely more expensive than Switzerland, where schooling is free for public schooling. Here doesn't exist literally public schooling. So yeah, it's very different, but both have pros and cons.
So let's focus a bit on the cons because, outside this Dubai dream has been sold too much. If you hear people, Dubai is just a place to be. And I agree. However, there are cons about being here. According to your 9-year experience in Dubai, which are the downsides of being here?
I have to say people or love or don't like Dubai. There is not really people that says, oh, I like it, I can maybe stay a few years, and at the end of the day you stay for long or you leave quite early in the process.
I think it's 3 years. The average, at least before COVID, was 3 years, the average staying in Dubai for a foreigner.
Yes. And I would say the cons, this is just for me. I didn't really have the chance or the opportunity to engage much with a local population or local entrepreneur. I'm very into the more European networking, and unfortunately I didn't really much learn Arabic. When I travel, I try to be more immersed in the culture. So for me, this is a bit of a con because it's not necessary for you to speak Arabic or be engaged with local people to make businesses. So it's something that I a bit regret in my last 8 years. In terms of cons, it can be very expensive. So you can pay a coffee $25 or you can pay a coffee 20 cents of dollar. So it's really depending where you are, and this is the experience. So another thing that I would have changed, it's maybe work more in try to save money faster and connected to the money part. Saving money in Dubai is not as easy as people think. You can earn a lot, but again, you can spend a lot.
Yeah, the city is built to have you spending,
Yes.
You earn maybe a lot, you're not taxed, but then, the big taxation is the amount of money that you can spend during your life.
That's correct.
I have the same opinion. I've never really, I don't know how many conversations I had with the locals in these 7 years. Maybe I spoke with 5 of them, So do you think it's done on purpose? Like they try to separate a bit with all the expats that live in this country? Or do you think it's just what it is because there are not so many, so the probabilities to talk with them are not high?
It's really depending on the line of business where you are. In my case, it's startup world. So for them, it's a little bit too small and too challenging in a way. They are more based in big business, family business. So it's another playground for me. I love the shallow water where I can be a small fish and move fast. In certain case, when you have meetings or you have a business relationship with locals, it's a big elephant, but it can be a bit slow. I prefer more dynamic businesses. So it's really depending. I have few local friends and nothing against them. Of course, it's their country. I love the culture, and it's just a different playground.
Yeah. And so talking about this, we already reached the main argument of this topic, so entrepreneurship. What do you think about entrepreneurship here? What's the status of the things, and what are you working on today?
I think the UAE or Dubai and as well Abu Dhabi, it's a great place to be if you are or you want to be an entrepreneur. The kickstart costs are not very, very expensive. There are many incubator or accelerators that can help you through the process. I work a lot with university, with incubator center inside the university, which are very, very good for the students. At the moment, what I'm doing is investing in very early stage startups in the impactful sector. So my pockets are not very deep. I do very high risk, high reward investment. So I'm part of the FFF, which is friends, family, and full round. A small amount of investment, but a lot of potential on return.
I see. So you are probably the best person to talk if you want to start a business. Is it correct?
Yeah, depending. As I mentioned, for me, it's more having a business that has a positive impact in the society or in the environment. So this is my focus.
Okay, and can you tell us a bit more? What are you looking in a startup, or maybe give us some examples of where you invested based on these characteristics that the startup has to have?
Yeah, so through my failure, I understood that the most important factor in a startup is the human factor. I made some mistake in investing in companies that were perfect timing, good amount of money raised before me or with me, perfect idea, perfect place, perfect location, but the human factor failed, and this unfortunately made everything collapse. So I think you can have a decent idea with a very strong team. You can make it happen.
So you think the team makes the difference?
Yes.
I see. And I know you also, we haven't said before, but you are Forbes 30 under 30 because of this.
Yeah, so in 2020, I've been selected as 30 under 30 by Forbes Middle East. That for me was one of the most enriching or amazing moment. I still remember where I was when I got the call from Forbes. So what was the rewarding part was they found me as a young individual that invest in younger students or younger entrepreneur that want to make their dream come true, and they don't have this small amount of money to just start their idea.
Okay, but I'm interested in something, because so many times, at least in my personal point of view, I read stories of people that just focus on the status of the things. You know, like right now what we are doing with you tell us what you're looking today in startups, you're telling more about your rewards, but how did you make it? So why and when did you decide to start this career? Was there a moment that changed everything? Was there a startup that you saw and you're like, okay, now this is my job? Because you told us your story and you said that you were working in banking and then you moved here. So what's between you moving here and you becoming the person you are today? What has been the thing that made you make those choices?
So I realized that I was not a good student, I was not a good employee, and creating something on my own was something very complicated and complex. And I did it the first time when I arrived in Dubai. I failed. I lost almost all the money that I saved through the 10 years in the bank, lost the money that my mom left me. That was a very bad experience, and it failed as well because the human factor behind was not as strong as I thought. I opened my second company, which I exited few years later. Not a lot of money, but this gave me a small capital that I was able to invest in other ideas. So I realized I'm not able to do it on my own because I don't have the skills. I never did university, so my knowledge is not as deep as necessary. So I just said, let's find hidden gems or hidden diamonds in the market, which is it's a big market, the UAE, of students with good idea and no money. So this is where I enter. It's gambling on ideas of others with my own private capital, and sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't.
Yeah, I have 3 questions about this. It's really interesting what you're saying. First of all, really tricky. Based on what you know today, if you can look at you 8 years ago when you started your first business, you said human capital wasn't there. So would you invest in that person 8 years ago? If you would meet today the same Matteo of 8 years ago, would you invest in him?
No, probably I will not have invested in myself 8 years ago.
Okay.
Why? Because motivation was there, the passion was there, but I was not knowing what I was doing. So where I invest, it's young people that they really know what they want and how to make it. For me was the dream, come to Dubai, being an entrepreneur, being independent, make a lot of money. That was the idea. At the end of the day, you have to work to make it true. I know that I'm not a very good worker, but I'm a very good connector. And I think my quality is to be able to scout a young mind with good ideas.
Okay, so what are you saying is that you failed, or I mean, let's not talk about failure because in startup is always, you made an experience, but that's because you were too focused on the final goal instead of the way to reach the goal. Yeah, like the startup was just a way of reaching something else. You were not really focused on the startup, you were focused on something else.
Yes, so the glory and the fame was more the goal than create a product or a service that was actually working and developing and generate value. So that's 100% correct.
And so what do you look for in a person, in a young founder or in a founder in general to be worthy to invest in?
I have to say I have a magic trick. So I receive a lot of business plan. I meet a lot of entrepreneurs, a lot of startupper along the way. I'm very active on LinkedIn. So there is a lot of context that comes to me and I analyze the business plan, financial plan, marketing, and I meet the person 2-3 times. And when I'm convinced that the idea can work, is an interesting market and has potential, what I do as a last step, I invite the entrepreneur at home where we have a nice dinner with my wife. She's from South Africa. She's a lovely teacher, kindergarten. And I have to say she's my magician behind the investment. So we have the dinner. They explain to her what is the idea, what is the product, what is the service in 15 minutes. After that, we have our pleasant dinner. We just talk about family, traveling, hobbies. We close the door and my wife does the gladiator sign up. We invest, sign down. We don't kill the entrepreneur, of course, but we kill the idea of investing. And her ratio of success is it's more than 90%. So mine is around 5-10%. She's an amazing person. She doesn't have a business mindset, but she knows more the person. She has the feeling, she has the empathy, something that I have more into relation of the numbers rather than the person itself. So that's my secret sauce. So
if you're listening to this podcast and you want to pitch to this guy, remember that if you're invited to that dinner, prepare your elevator pitch, prepare your pitch, and the person you need to convince is not Matteo, but his wife. And connected to this question, to this statement that you said, how important is love and having a person together with you at your side that helps you? What do you think in your experience?
I personally think it's extremely, extremely important from a social and networking perspective. I'm lucky enough that my wife loves to go to gathering events, gala. So we spend around 15 to 20 nights a month out for this type of events. We love it. And she's supportive with me. So she's engaging with other guests. She introduced me. She goes around and it's basically a part of myself detached from my body that does networking for me as well. So she's lovely. She's very engaging in terms of talking to people. So for me, it's a massive added value, and we have fun at the same time. So it's a win-win situation.
So you would suggest to everybody to have someone on their side to help them, because at the end, I mean, and what I'm getting from your words, you go to an event, you have the capacity of 2 people to do networking at the same time, right? Instead of you alone.
Yeah, that's correct. And maybe my wife engaged
it's not just the only point about having some love, but...
No, of course. That's the added value in business. Yeah. Maybe she's engaging with the wife or the girlfriend of some other entrepreneur or investor, so we can connect directly through these and meet them afterwards for a coffee or an aperitivo. So it's doubling your chance of connecting people, and in Dubai, in the UAE, network is extremely important.
And that was my following question. So, as an entrepreneur, as a businessman, what's the importance of networking?
It's in this market is extremely important. For 2 reasons. I give you the example of the Swiss Business Council. The Swiss Business Council is the Chamber of Commerce of Switzerland in the UAE, and represents Swiss people living here and connect the dots between Switzerland and the UAE. Being part of this network is not just going out and having some drinks. It's being exposed to high-level individuals that they have their own company, or they are entrepreneur, or they are bankers. So these type of events are extremely time-consuming if you want to see it from a time investment perspective, but they are very high rewarding. So going out and talk to people gives you the access to information or opportunity, but at the same time gives you notoriety, and people will recognize you or will associate you to an association or to a group, and you build your respect in a way.
Yeah, I completely agree. Yesterday I was talking with a friend about conferences, which are something similar, and it's really hard to define what's the return, because you invest a lot of time, you meet a lot of people, and maybe immediately you don't have any returns, but you never know. Maybe in 6 months, in 1 year, you get a call, and it happened to me. We met there, and you can start doing business, you can develop a relationship, or maybe you meet someone and you have the friend, you have the person that needs that person, you can make a connection. You said you're really good in connecting, so this is it. And talking about Swiss Business Council, I completely agree. There's something here. I've been part of the Swiss Council and I got so much out of it. So my suggestion is to really enroll. However, at the status quo, at the status of the things today, I'm not a member. And Matteo here has some point about it. He's not really happy, is it?
No. I agree to do this podcast in exchange of.
So
Nicolò
should we shake hands?
Yes,
that after this podcast I will get into the Swiss Council again.
It's a deal, yeah.
I mean, I've been away for just a few months, not long.
We would be more than happy to have you back. You are a very big part of the community, and you can get something out of it that you, as you mentioned, and you can give a lot. So it's a benefit for our members to have somebody like you on board.
I will definitely join. Talking about your university experience, because before you said something that stick to my mind. You said, when I arrived here, I didn't go to university. And one of the reasons why the business didn't work was because of that. However, in today's world, we heard so much about gurus saying, don't go to university. Well, universities are a waste of time. You, on your side, you didn't go, but today you teach at universities. What's your opinion about that? Businessmen, entrepreneurs, should they go to university or not?
I can only speak for myself. I was probably destined to fail if I would have started. So that's, for me, it's a no-brainer. I think now it's very different, the level of education that kids or students get offered. Entrepreneurship is now a big part of the plan that student has to go through. I do not only university, but I do as well school, and doing like speeches and lectures about entrepreneurship, impact, and sustainability. So if I was exposed at the age of 12 or 13 years old to somebody, an entrepreneur with a real case study coming and proposing me or speaking to me about his venture, probably I would have been more motivated to follow the path and maybe go to university and study business. At that stage, for me, university was something for doctors, lawyers, something that was not really engaging. Going back, probably I would have done it. I would have make it in a difficult way, but going through. Now it's different. I think it's more interesting, and people can really choose and be engaged with more professional, more practical than theoretical things.
Okay, really interesting. And I want to talk more about the skills that you learned there and the skills you learn in today's world. However, I want to go back one thing. I'm talking about networking because I think it's important. A lot of people today, they go outside. I'm talking about the gurus, the people that you see online, and it's always, you need to be online, you need to be present. Your point of view, is it more important to be present a lot online or to be present offline?
What I personally do, I am more offline, and I just back myself with a picture or videos or photo of what I did or who I met during offline events. So this give you the double exposure, and it's more tangible than just me talking to a camera and presenting something, rather to go and meet somebody, meet an entrepreneur, discuss the business plan, and present it online through LinkedIn, for example. So I will suggest start with the offline that builds you as a person, as an individual, and helps you to build the business, and after replicate or be exposed on the media or the online base. And another thing that which is very, very important, especially in the UAE, this is a lesson from a dear friend. He's here in the UAE since 49 years. He was one of the first Swiss to arrive in the UAE, a very successful businessman, and he told me the essence of follow up. So don't just create the contact, don't just meet people, don't just shake hands. In a tough market, very competitive like the UAE, you have to follow up, not every day, but you have to be really on the piece and like a dog with a bone, don't let it go until it's signed. And signing is not meaning of closing. Closing is when you have the money in the bank account or when the deal goes through effectively.
A lot of value shared in this podcast. Really, I really agree.
Thank you.
Okay, so talking about the entrepreneurs, which do you think are the skills you need to have to be a successful entrepreneur?
Oh, that's a very good question.
Like if I start from zero and I need to say, okay, I need to develop some skills. We said networking. That's what we already said.
Yep.
Super important, and completely agree. You need to always show up.
Yep.
Even if you don't want to go to that event, you need to go. Yep. You know, you need to try to talk with as many people as possible. We were just talking before the beginning of the podcast. Saturday, I attended an event. I didn't know what to expect. I just went there because I had to show up. You never know. Maybe sometimes it's helpful, sometimes it's not. But you never know who are the people that you can meet over there.
Yeah, I think soft skill in terms of listening. You have to be very good in listening before overselling or trying to sell something. I go to events where I shake the hands. Okay, I'm Mr. Bob. Let's imagine a random name, and Bob starts overselling his idea because he knows that I'm an investor. So just try to listen before trying to sell, and try to understand who you have in front of you and how you can collaborate or work together. So this is it's not easy. It's something very, very difficult that you have to improve over time. Of course, presentation skill, it's very, very important. I have cases of startup where I invested and was intrigued by the idea, by the entrepreneur, because of the first 5 minutes of presentation. So you can have the best idea in the world, but if you don't make it interesting, cool, and well presented, you already cut your chance of succeeding through small investor like me, which they look more into the persona than the idea itself. This for me, it's the most important part at the beginning. So be really yourself, go out and be mindful of talking to as many people as possible, but be respectful and don't try to oversell.
Where do you find investor? How do you find investor? Okay, now I'm an entrepreneur. I got the skills that you are teaching, that you are saying. How do I connect with investors, at least here in Dubai? What do I need to do?
Again, networking. I'm trying to.
So you need to show up. You need to be everywhere.
I say to students, you can have the magical potion of transforming a car invisible, and you have the best business plan, the best data, the best research, but you are behind your computer on your desk, and you don't present the idea to anybody. It will always be in your drawer. So going out and it's not just to get money, but as well as to get suggestions. So be able to adapt your idea based on the people that you talk to. If you said, I have this amazing product, for example, this piece of cake, and you think is the best in the world, and you go and you make it taste to 100 people and everybody says it's too sweet, you have to be able to adapt and of course change the recipe. Even if you think that is the best for you, it's maybe not the best for the market. So listening is based as well in adapting your original idea and transforming it in something that can be more interesting for the market.
So do you agree that your idea can be the best in the world, but the final judge is always the market?
That's of course, yeah.
And talking about the final judgment by the market, can you tell us more about where you invested in and which were successful and which led to failure? Maybe you don't have to offer names, but at least try to offer us some examples of what the product was.
No, if you want, I can even mention names. Up to you.
So tell us why some investments failed, and like analyzing them later, could you see them coming as a failure, or maybe not, and what went south in that case?
So one of the startup which was totally unsuccessful, but teach me a lot actually, and make me travel. So I put up with other two entrepreneurs, one from Serbia, one from Croatia, and they had this amazing idea of social media that was promoting only bar and restaurant through small video, which was even before TikTok. I'm not saying that we wanted to create something like TikTok, but the idea was just a short promotional video for restaurants or hospitality in Dubai. Good idea. We went to India to develop the app. I spent there 4 months. It was an amazing trip. I really enjoyed traveling there, and there was not really much to do apart to go into the office and check what the developer were doing. So some free time, very low cost of living. I traveled around India, was fantastic. But probably my focus was more into the experience of creating an app and being in a foreign country than the app itself. I have no basic in tech, so I didn't really know what to do or how to do it. I just give trust to these other two people and the agency. And we got some investments and they end up finishing, and basically
no more money,
no more fun, go back to Dubai with the tail in the middle of my legs. And so that was probably a good learning experience, which I don't regret because it made me a better entrepreneur than before.
And talking about the ones that are successful today, why do you think they're successful? What do they have today?
So I have example of startup which are innovative in two different ways. One of them, it's something that it's totally new, that doesn't exist in the market, in any market. And another one is something that exists in other markets and has been brought it in a virgin market like the UAE. They are both very successful. They are different types. So innovation for me is not creating something out of the blue. It can be as well something implemented in a new market. And I think, again, human factor was the key reason of the success in both cases.
And we talked about the idea, we talked about the founders, their skills. However, since in this podcast we talk a lot about sales, how important is sales in a startup? How important for a person? We already just kind of said, because if you need to do networking, means that you need to sell yourself a lot.
Yep.
But this is on a personal level, so we maybe agree that a founder has to know sales,
Yep.
or at least how to sell himself and his ideas.
Yep.
But later on, in the development phase, so let's suppose they already got the money from you, for example, how important that they use those money to sell as much as possible? How important is sales in this equation?
No, it's extremely important. At the end of the day, you have to prove the concept of what you want to sell. So if it's a product or a service. So I tend to invest in startup, even if they are early stage, that already prove that there is a need in the market and they were able to sell to 10, 100 people. So the investment doesn't have to go 100% into the sales. It's a big part of it, but it's not the massive requirements. It's not sales, it's more branding and marketing rather than sales. At the end of the day, if you can have the best website, the best Instagram account and the best branding, but if you don't sell, you don't get money. So it goes hand in hand. It's a bit the chicken and egg situation where you don't know, I put more money into the branding so it helps me to sell, or I'm going to start putting sales that helps my branding to be more recognized. Again, I'm not very technical. I tend to invest in kind of cool and sexy business. Allow me the world, which they are selling more themselves. That's for me as well. It's part of the choice, finding something that is cool.
Okay, so we can add to what you said before that if they already sold the idea, the product, if they were already able to prove the market, for you would be better for investing in, right?
Yeah, of course, they don't need to prove the market with millions of there or thousands of sales. Just the concept that somebody bought it and it's not just friends or family that receive the sample or part of your products and love it because they love you. So market validation is important.
So if you're listening to this podcast, you have an idea, but you don't know how to sell it. Unfortunately, we don't work with startups at the early stage. However, we can offer you some advice and consultation. So you might want to explore the part of where you learn how to sell more. Talking about your approach to risk, your approach to investments, is there a formula, an equation, something for which you manage your financials in general? Like how much do you select for investing in a startup? Is there always the same ticket? You change the ticket, and how do you select when it's time to invest again?
It really depends on the cash flow, not only mine, but of me and my wife. So it's depending on the situation. I tend to enter early stage because this gives me the opportunity of partially exiting at the higher valuation. So I do some cash in, which doesn't mean that it's a big amount of money, but I tend to exit partially a startup, keeping a small part of shares and entering in something new. Why? Because it gives me a diversification, but still keeping into the impact, sustainability, environment, social aspect. So diversification in terms of geography, but sector, something that is not just giving the money to somebody, but is as well helping to create a product service that employ people in difficulties and make the world a better place.
So high risk, high reward. You enter early in order to get the most, which
Yes.
of course more risk because there's nothing more than just an idea or a proof of concept at the end.
Yes, that's correct. High risk, high reward. I like it. Why? Because it's idea stage, it's prototype stage, is where the fun is. As soon as money comes in and lawyers and paper and admin, I'm not a big fan. So I prefer to exit and invest in something that is early stage and where I can contribute. Because as I said, my knowledge, my hard skills are not very high. So I can help through the experience of what I saw in other startup at the same level. So I'm humble enough to saying the admin and the high level startup aiming to be unicorn, for me that's it's more bureaucracy and admin than the fun.
On a founder point of view, when do you suggest to search for investors? So why not trying to bootstrap, meaning not trying to go profitable with your own legs? And why looking for an investor? Why me as a early stage founder, I should look for an investor instead of trying with all my own?
So I think the important lesson that I want to share is you have to be your first investor. We have a lot of cases of people with a good idea that go out and start raising money without having put 1 cent of our proper saving or money. I don't believe in that. Why? If you don't put your own money at risk, you will never push as much as if you get it from somebody else. This is pure psychological. And again, if you as a single founder, you have to invest your own money. And if you're a pool of friends, everybody has to contribute financially, not just with ideas or support. The cash has to talk. This is, for me, it's very important. Try not to sell shares in exchange of consultancy. Again, I'm not a big fan of shares given to, not consultant, but board member or
I've experienced that. A lawyer that you, instead of paying him, you give him shares because he's gonna do the contract. You're gonna regret that in the long term.
Yeah, exactly. So that's I think it's an important lesson. Don't really dilute yourself for people that are not physically putting some money. Doesn't have to be a big amount. It's just the commitment is the token of part of the company. I put my money at risk. Another thing that a lot of entrepreneur I think made mistake is they are scared of diluting themselves at the very beginning. Now, I always say, and I didn't create this quote, it's better to have 1% of a watermelon compared to 50% of a grape. Now, if you have a good idea and you want to keep it for yourself and put a very high valuation, not to dilute yourself at the beginning, this is a losing strategy, in my personal opinion. Sell shares to people that can contribute, that can give you some capital and help you through the venture, rather than just trying to be greedy and keep everything for yourself. At the end of the day, the startup is like a baby. At the beginning, you are the mom, you are the father. But when it comes to education maturity, you have to let it go through nursery, school, high school, university, and at certain point, let it go on his own. You always gonna be the father or the mother of the child of the startup, but the support from external people is fundamental for the growth and for the success.
Yeah, definitely. I was even reading that all the investors and board members of Meta, Facebook, are really not happy about Zuckerberg, but he still has all the power, and they really would love him to step aside for the company to grow better. As you were saying, maybe the father live in the child growing, but I think the guy has really been too much connected to his business. He made a huge job, like it's one of the most important companies in the world. But however, some level I understand them, and I feel like maybe it's time to have someone else. Like, I don't know, Apple, for example, has not been led by the same guy and has become what has become also because of that. So I think maybe Meta needs a new visionary, a new CEO to move. But that's just my personal point of view. Something that I've noticed and is always tricky. I'm a first-time founder, and I have an idea. I come to you and I pitch your idea. However, I'm not all in, meaning I have a job, meaning that I'm working on my idea in my spare time. What do you think about that? Am I investing enough? Or me personally think you're not really believing in that, because if you really believe in something, you go all in and invest 100% of your time, meaning that I know the new road is always more dangerous or more scaring, let's say, than the old one. However, if you really believe in your idea, you should be able to resign and go fully all in on that. But that's tricky. So what do you think? I want to hear your opinion here.
So I have two cases of entrepreneur that were working for another company, very good salary. They create this idea aside. And basically what was the commitment when they reached out to me and I decided to invest, they said, once we close this round of investment, we will resign. And we will not pay ourselves for the first X month. And basically this is what happened. And the company went from 2 employees in 3 years to 800. So it's something that I respected. They had family, so they were not able to jump into the unknown. They were working very hard, and they demonstrate that working for somebody during the day and during the night for their passion and for their motivation of creating something on their own, it paid off. So it was extremely successful, and now this is one of the fast growing startup, not only in the UAE but in the region. So I'm very proud of them, and they were true, they were transparent, they were honest, and this paid off. And another one as well, a young gentleman from India as well. He was not able to resign until the second round was closed, and he committed to working hard during the day, during the weekend, and in that year time he grew 100% in terms of revenue. So at that stage he decided to resign. He asked the board, and of course we agreed, because he's doing an exceptional job.
When a founder should take his first salary from a startup? At the end of the day, if you are a founder and you put your own money, you will realize that if you put $10,000 and you pay yourself $1,000 after 10 months, you put at risk maybe not yourself, but you put at risk of your baby. So it's like for a mother preparing food for your baby and eating it on your own rather to give it away. So the salary part, it's very tricky. I don't receive a salary since the last 8 years when I moved to Dubai. So I have no salary, no fixed income. I have to work, which is not probably
the physical work of making things happen inside the startup, but I have to go out and connect with entrepreneur, investing my money, exiting the business, sell my shares, and connecting with higher investor that put bigger money in the startup, and this helps the whole full cycle.
Maybe there is a round where you start to get the salary. I don't know, family and friends, I completely agree that you shouldn't take a salary, but maybe pre-seed or seed round when you start to have those investments that are, I don't know, $500,000, something like that. It should be the time. Maybe it's already 1 year into the business.
It's back to your previous question on sale. If you can prove that you're selling, you can put a percentage of the sale, for example, as a salary. At the beginning, if you show your data or your financial plan to investor like me, and you put a salary which is on the long run a big percentage of the investment that I have to put, I will not agree, and I will say this is not.
I'm paying for your salary, not for your idea. Yes. I agree. However, I tell you this, when I had my startup in Silicon Valley, we were looking for what I think was a seed round around 1 million, something like that. And when we approached American investors, we were really proud on the fact that we didn't get any salary until that point. Mm-hmm. However, what they told us at that moment was like, you are crazy. Like, from the moment in which we invest, we want you to get a salary, because otherwise, is what you say, you need to focus somewhere else to get the money. Mm-hmm. So in my opinion, I completely agree that where you invest makes no sense to get a salary. But if you start to get 1 million, 2 million in that's maybe don't pay you the highest salary on the market, but still you need to survive somehow. No,
of course.
Some other advice you want to offer? Something? I think we had a huge, amazing podcast. There is so much value. I would suggest this podcast to everyone who's interested in either creating their business, their startup, or maybe looking for an investor. For sure you gave a lot of advice in where to get those investors. We said, just to recap, go out, always show up, be there, be everywhere. Yeah. Try to spread the voice, try to spread your image, try to get known. Yeah. Try to be connected, ask the person to connect to that person, etc., etc. Yes. Leverage the human factor, we can say.
Yes. And if there are, maybe now I'm talking to a small investor like me, or angel level, there is a lot of opportunities in the market, not only in the UAE, around the world, of young people from unfortunate places, with great idea, with no access to money. So it's high risk, but it's very good to help people that are motivated and can do it if they have the opportunity. So maybe avoid just to put your money in stock market, crypto, where it's very volatile and it's a gamble. Rather to gamble on the stock, gamble on the people that are unfortunate, and they can really bring a good product or service and change the world. So again, something that is impactful. You will feel better as an investor. You will have an impact on the society. And if you lose the money, at least you had something that makes you proud of yourself, rather than just to see a graph that turns red and green. Again, this is my opinion, and this allows you to travel, to know other culture. I'm fortunate enough to have been in Mexico. I'm now both part of a cricket farming company, so we are producing flour from crickets. I think it's cool. I met the guy, super smart, a student from Tec de Monterrey. I think it's something that the future will need. And just enjoy, travel, and again, maybe put more the money into people than into something virtual.
Well, with this amazing advice, I think we reached the conclusion. Thank you, Matteo, for being here. Thank you for all the value you shared and the lessons that you learned on yourself you were able to tell us. The last advice was really precious. It was something that you don't hear a lot. So many people are always saying, invest in cryptos, whatever, but invest in people. And unfortunately, people that are not as lucky as us is an amazing advice. So
yes.
Thank you very much for being here.
Thank you so much, Nicolò. And I just want to close with one of the slogan of one of my startups in life, business, love. Don't just do it. Please do it right. Thank you so much.
Thank you.